Yeah, I don't look ridiculous with this on at all. In my recent In the Shop video, I got a comment from Hunter Hengst that said that for practice I should try regrinding the bevels on old knives. And so I thought that was a kind of an interesting idea. I've got what is my favorite kitchen knife here. This has a bit of history. I've had this for I'd say at least 25 years. It started out as a different knife. The tang broke off. I welded a new tang on, which was just a piece of mild steel. And then I made this handle here out of sapelli and glued it on, and it's been in my kitchen for the past 10 years in this form. And you can see that it's kind of getting worn out. It's got a bit of a heel here on here. So I've always thought that I could take it, eventually when I got one of these grinders and straighten out the blade. So I'm going to do that now. What I really like about this knife is that it's easy to sharpen. I can get a razor sharp very quickly. And that's because the steel is not very hard. I've got another knife here. This came in a set. It's a serrated knife. The steel is a lot harder, but it's hard in the wrong way. It's brittle. The edge fractures quite easily, so it really won't hold a sharp edge. I also brought out my infamous knife sharpener, which is made from carbide teeth on the saw blade. And this is something that a lot of people didn't like because, oh, you can't sharpen knives with that, you'll ruin your knives. Well, that's just bullshit, because when you sharpen a knife, you take it from dull, which is a round edge, to a sharp edge, and that's exactly what this does, and it removes the material where it needs to be removed. A stone does exactly the same thing, except slower. The way this works is you just run the knife along the V like this, lightly. It doesn't have to be hard. And what it does is it shaves down the side walls and brings the edge to a very sharp point. Now it's ready to use in the kitchen for every task, cutting up meat or whatever. I had questions from people asking how sharp the knife is after you use this. So I'll quickly demonstrate. I'm just going to run it along here a few times, lightly. That's all you need. And then I've got paper here. I'm not sure if it's going to cut it. It should, but you never know. I think that that's sharp enough for anything you want to do in the kitchen anyway. Well, I've taken it as far as I want to take it on the belt grinder. I've gotten rid of the heel that was down here. I've made a nice graceful curve back up to the tip. I've also refined the tip. The tip was getting a little bit blunt. Now I've made it sharper. I've polished down the sides, made the crosshatch marks across rather than lengthwise, which goes better with a convex grind like this. Now I'm going to take it and put it in my vise, and I just got some 220 grit paper here that I'm going to wet with my solution and clean up the side of the blade, try to get rid of the uneven scratch marks, because the belt doesn't make full contact in all areas. So a little hand work at the end is always a good thing. Now I've switched to 600 grit, and I'm going to go over it all again. You got to be careful at this point because that edge is very sharp. And that's as far as I'm going to take it with the blade. I'm not looking for spotless perfection here. If I wanted to take it further, I could bring it over to the buffing wheel and buff it right up to a mirror finish. But that would be wasted in the kitchen because, it gets thrown around and slapped around. So a nice matte finish like this is good enough. The main thing is that I've restored a good shape to it. It's got a nice graceful curve to the blade. That heel is gone. That heel was a problem before because it would, wouldn't be sharp, first of all. and also impede in cutting all the way through something on the board. While dressing the blade on the belt grinder, I hit the handle in a couple of places right up here at the front, and I think I'm going to leave it for now. About 2 years ago, I coated the handle itself with epoxy to try to keep the tang in the back here, which is just mild steel, from rusting and spreading the handle away. So that's still intact and looks good. The front here, there's a little bit of wood exposed, but the wood wasn't a problem. I had raw wood on it for a long time, and it never deteriorated in any way. If you keep the handle dry, to the point where, okay, it gets wet, and then you dry it off and let it dry out in the open, then you won't have any problem with the wooden handle. Nicely reformed blade. I'm just going to run it through my sharpener here again a couple times to establish a good edge on it. I know the knife aficionados would not agree, but there's no getting around the results you can get with it. Also, this might be a little known thing, but you can actually steel a blade on another knife. You can stroke it back and forth like this, and that will pull the burr off and polish the edge. And then we take the paper test and try that, and see. No problem slicing a tomato with this guy. That's it for that one. I was going to do a little bit more in this video. I was actually going to make a new handle for this knife here and turn it into a straight blade instead of a serrated blade. I was also going to soften the steel a bit because the steel that this blade is made out of is a bit harder than it should be, and it's a bit brittle. It won't hold an edge. But I'll save that for another time. Anyway, I hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.